Greater Good Radio. Connect, learn, heal, and grow.
High school was 4 high schools, struggled. I think that story has been told before.
What, once every year?
No, I started off 9th grade at Farrington, and it was rough. It was really rough because I was living in KPT at the time. And so I think I went to school for 5 or 6 days, and that's it. I just dropped out.
Well, I was getting too nuts.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was bullied. Yeah, I had free lunch. So I'd show up, and then back then you had to like stand in line to get your free lunch. And so the whole school gets to see you, and you get these fake quarters and 2 fake dimes and then get your lunch. So I get my free lunch, and the second day some guy takes my lunch and eats it, and he thinks it's funny. I think it was the third day I had a gun pulled on me. And so this Filipino boy thought it was funny, and I was scared. I didn't like that. And so it just wasn't for me. Like, it was not an environment that I felt like I thrived in. And so I just stopped going. And then my sister took me in. So my sister in Waipahu took me in. And so I lived with her. Then I went to Waipahu High School. But same thing. Like, I really didn't pay attention to school. I must have went more there, but I probably still had all Fs in high school. Then I went to Campbell. I was still living with my other sister at that time. I was going back and forth between sisters. So then my other sister lived in Waipahu, but the district was redistricted. So she had Pearl City as her district. So then I went to Pearl City for my last 2 years when I had to go, or I'd go to detention home or something like that. So they put me in an alternative learning program. The entire day I was in auto shop. In the morning, auto painting in the afternoon. That's it. Yeah, no math, no English, no nothing like that. Yeah.
Is that what you chose?
I think that was what was chosen for me. Yeah.
And did you like it?
Not really. Yeah.
Oh. So you pretty much was in like semi-jail is what it sounds like, right? Like, I got to be here. I don't really want to be here.
Yeah, we had this lady, Candy, she's a state counselor, would come on Wednesdays and like circle the guys up. It was all guys in our class, like 15 or 16 of us. And it was not a group of folks that you want to upset at that age. Yeah. So I was in with some pretty rough crew. And so she'd do things like go around, like, let's do our opening session. And then guy next to me is saying like, oh yeah, I still like to sell my pakalolo. And, like really, they were opening up about some really awful things. And they come to me and I was just like, I like to surf. I don't really like school. And then, it was almost like I wasn't ready to open up, like compared to some of the stories I was hearing. And so, yeah, that was rough. That was really rough. But I finished it, welded and painted and worked on cars and stuff.
Wait, so what would you have opened up about?
I don't know. I thought I did open up. Like, I just didn't like school. Mm-hmm. But it was just compared to some of the other stories I was hearing, like some pretty wild stories were coming out of that group. Yeah. 2 of my classmates committed suicide, not in my senior year, but after. I remember one of the guys, like, I went surfing with him and he was driving like 110 miles an hour. I started freaking out, like, dude, you're going too fast. He was flooring, going North Shore. And that was one of the guys that killed himself too. It was really traumatic because I hear the stories of some of the guys that were in my group.
So how did you get through that?
I didn't get through. I just did it. I just like fix it. I need to fix something. I'll fix something. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. So that was what I was supposed to do. And I wasn't conscious at that time. I just kind of went with the flow.
So was there a turning point?
Yeah. I took the ASVAB. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's the test to determine your military readiness. And I like created patterns on it. I didn't read the questions. I did Christmas trees. I did a shaka. And so it was like, I was just doing whatever, right? Because they were trying to get us in the military. The Marines call us like, hey, you did good, son. We want you.
So you mean you just did any kind drawings on
I was going nuts. Yes, I put
said,
shaka.
You did great.
I said, yeah, you did great. You'd be a good candidate. And
you think they even looked at that thing?
I don't think they looked at that thing. They looked at who finished the test. I don't know, but that's my guess. Like, there's no reason they should have called me. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. And then the Navy reserves like, oh, we want you to, buddy. And so at that point, I was ready to think like, yeah, I guess I got to do something. So I signed up for the reserves. Mm-hmm. And that's the point of my life where it changed because I left. And so I went to Great Lakes, Chicago for boot camp by myself. Like, nobody in my family kind of gave me advice, like, and this is what you expect. So I took up a giant bag of lihimue and like, I was thinking, can I take a surfboard? Probably not. Yeah. So I remember landing there and they take away all my lihimue. I'm like, what the hell, guys? These are my snacks. It was interesting because they waited for 80 people to show up, and then you're a group, and then the next 80. I got there at the tail end, so I went overnight without that 80. And so I made friends with this African-American guy and this Haole guy. And then finally we had 80 the next day. And then the first thing they do is like, they take you into this room. We all change into military clothes and they cut your hair bull head. And then they put you back in the room. And I remember I couldn't find my friends because I'd never seen that in my life. We all looked the same, right? And so I was like one of 3 brown guys out of the 80. So they found me, but I swear I couldn't tell, like, you were the guy I was talking to, so that was pretty trippy. But that was my first experience with life, outside of Hawaii. Like, I went to Mississippi as a kid, but that was the first time, like as an adult, 17 years old. I went right out of high school, like a few weeks out of high school. So.
Wait, so what did they do with your lihing moi?
Probably throw them away, like TSA. So.
Why'd they take it away?
I guess you're not supposed to bring anything. Like you're supposed to come just as you are, with nothing, and then you just submit yourself and go through that. That was the first time I saw like pranks and racism. I saw people being really mean. It was also the first time that my peers saw me. There's this week called Hell Week, and it's like 7 or 8 weeks in, and you work for, I don't know how many hours a day, but you go to bed at 2 and you wake up at 4. They're trying to deprive you of sleep. And so you're in this delirious state for an entire week. And one person is excluded from that. But it's the person that everybody votes on. They voted for me, and so I was excluded from that. But that was the first time in my life that my peers had given me a gift just for me being me, right? So that was like one step.
Did they say why they did that?
I was probably the most neutral guy. Like it was pretty rough. Like there was the blacks, whites, there was a lot of tension. There was some racism. I saw one guy get beat up in the middle of the night. They filled up a pillowcase like you see in the movies.
With soap.
It wasn't soap. I don't know what they put in there, but they just put stuff, and they're whacking this guy. It was pretty crazy. I didn't like that. I didn't like any of that stuff.
Wait, so how long were you there?
3 months or so in Chicago. Then I went to school for 3 or 4 months in Mississippi for heavy equipment repair. They sent me there to learn how to fix diesel rigs, hydraulic systems. So my job was going to be that. That was my turning point, really. So when I got there, my high-speed thinking was there. So like I just powered through everything. I never studied. I did everything in the class, and I never studied outside of class. I never got anything wrong in any single test.
You mean like 100% you got right
every
on
single
every
test.
single thing?
And so our teacher there was this hard-ass military guy, but he pulled me aside, and he showed me a side of himself that he wasn't showing to the rest of us. And he said, you've broken our record for the school. I need you to leave the military and go study engineering. Like you should be an engineer. Like I got the equipment up and running faster than anyone else. I'd passed the test. And he knew that I wasn't putting in an effort. So he thought it was a gift that I had. And so no one had ever told me that in my life, that I should go to college. I was the very first person in my entire life to do that.
So do you feel it was a gift, or you feel like you worked on it?
Oh, it's a gift. Knowing what I know now, I definitely got lucky.
If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.